Yes, not having done art school. I'm grateful for not having done art school right
Okay.
now, because I feel like doing art school can format one's mind, and
Yeah.
art is really about freedom.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one thing. But when I say education, I mean formal education. But you can also have like you can be self-taught somehow.
Yeah.
You can have your own way of learning things.
It's Dami again, your host, and with me here today I have Dolph Banza.
We were talking about AI before even AI, because it has always been a topic. So we had like talks,
Yeah.
discussions where we would, speculate about what AI would do. Most people that I was following, most scientists, thought that AI will start by replacing, by let's say executing repetitive task. Rwandan aesthetic is a very big influence to my craft as well. So when I say Rwandan aesthetic, I mean ancient, traditional or pre-colonial aesthetic.
First one, if illustration didn't work out, what do you think you'll be doing today?
I'll be a technician. I'll be working at a radio station or a TV station.
Welcome to another episode of the Lucrative Africa podcast. It's Dami again, your host, and with me here today I have Dolph Banza. So Dolph is an illustrator and a digital artist, and he has worked on illustrations ranging from large-scale stage work for events like Move Africa and the FIA Awards. And he has also worked on designs for the kits for the UCI Road World Championships in Kigali. He is also the creative director and founder of Inkstain, which is a creative agency that uses illustrations to tell stories in Rwanda and beyond. So over to you, Dolph. Thank you so much for being here. Can you tell us a bit about your story and how you got into illustration and where this all started?
Thank you for having me, Dami. So it's a pleasure to be on your podcast.
Thank you.
So how all this started? Everything to me started when I was a toddler. I have, my only toys were like a pencil and a paper. So I would scribble all the time, and that's how everything started. So I never really stopped drawing. Most kids draw.
Yeah.
At some point, they stop because of so many, other things that they need to focus on, which can compete with their, artistic pursuits. But in my case, I never really had to face any obstacle that could prevent me from drawing. So, and then after drawing, I got to learn design, graphic design, and so many other skills related to creative communication or art in general.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, I think it's a blessing to actually be in a space where you didn't have things that were hindering you from like continuing with it. Because I think, as you said, in typical African home, they see you like drawing initially, like no, focus on your schoolwork.
Because drawing is not utilitarian.
Yeah.
It's not gonna guarantee you being able to make some income.
Yeah.
So most parents would not like when their kids are drawing, because it looks like a waste of time. But for us who draw, you would call it self-exploration. Yes, so it's way more meaningful than how it is perceived externally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, for people who like I've worked in the design space, and I still work in the design space, and I do a little of like, illustrator work. But I feel like for some people they might not necessarily know what, like, if you're meeting someone who does not know what illustration is, how would you describe that to them?
It's that question sounds easy, but it's
Yeah.
actually not. You can get different definition from different people. Let me try to articulate what I think illustration is. Illustration is really trying to capture a visual, let's say, thing with a bunch of lines and curves.
Yeah.
So you are capturing something, but not photographically.
Yeah.
You are capturing it with lines and curves and color and texture. You have to compose it a little bit like photography, but the outcome is really minimal, in terms of how much detail it carries. And that the aspect of that minimal aspect is what makes illustration different from photography, because now you can focus on what matters. It can be the story you want to focus on or the essence of it. So now a good illustrator is going to know what is necessary and what is not, for clarity. At least in some instances, you need clarity than anything else. But you can also have abstract, kind of approach to illustration that works. But yes, illustration is really the fact of capturing something visually using the least details as much as you can.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because I think, initially when I found out about like what illustration is, I will still mix it with like digital art, but I'm not sure that all digital art is illustration. I think illustration just falls under digital art. I probably 3D work,
because you also have painting, 3D. You have some motion graphic is also digital, some form of art. I believe.
That makes sense. And I mean, also just from my little research about like you and your background, I know that you didn't necessarily have, apart from the fact that you were drawing since you were young, you didn't have educationally, you didn't have a background in the arts. I think you said you had studied engineering or something in that area. And I don't know, I feel like sometimes when I see the work that you do today, I feel like there might be influences from like you approach your illustrations from like an engineering point of view. And so I wanted to just ask like that education that you have, how would you say it has influenced like your work today and also just your career as an illustrator?
Yes, not having done art school. I'm grateful for not having done art school right now, because I feel like doing art school can format one's mind, and art is really about freedom. So that's one thing. But when I say education, I mean formal education, but you can also have like you can be self-taught somehow. You can have your own way of learning things. Having, let's say, a science background formally, right? And being an artist intuitively. So at some point in my journey, I've managed to find a common path for them. Like having something I call my theory of everything. Is like I take everything I like and then I kind of smash them together, and then the outcome has like an aspect of everything. So now engineering and illustration provides a lot that I also got to explore differently. Like if you look at the kind of illustration or sculptures or paintings that were done during the Italian Renaissance. So there is a big aspect of the fundamental kind of geometry of the universe. So you're gonna have principles like the golden ratio, you're gonna have symmetry, you're gonna have balance, you're gonna have proportion. So all these things have a scientific aspect, but can be very beneficial when embedded into art. So, and to me, I feel like I can draw organic stuff, yes, but I like to really have the geometrical perfection, which I master that enough to do it intuitively, so it comes natural for me. And if I also Rwandan aesthetic is a very big influence to my craft as well. So when I say Rwandan aesthetic, I mean ancient, traditional or pre-colonial aesthetic. So there is a lot of elements in that aspect that have a big deal of geometry, just like I was telling you. So you will find all these geometrical let's say principles in the woven objects. You will find it in traditional architecture. You will find it in wood work. So you will find it in so many aspects of everyday life. That wasn't really called art. It's just craft, something you learn, you practice, and you become. So that's what you'd see in my art. I was talking to this guy once in a museum. So he was asking me about sketches that I have done of some traditional Rwandan objects that they have in that museum in Europe. And one thing he was referring to is that there was a science fiction aspect to the sketches that he had seen. Yet these were objects that they had, for quite some time. And they are like indigenous, kind of traditional, tribal. So those connotations can also mean kind of, simple, not sophisticated, or, ancient. So it's like they don't have a lot of, savoir-faire in them, which I was able to contradict with that sketch by really showing everything in a geometrical kind of perspective.
Yeah, I think I understand what you mean. Even though obviously I was not in the room when that was happening, but I think I've seen some of like your sketches too, and some of your like final work, and they do look in some sense like, let's say, Afrofuturistic. Like it's like you're taking, things that existed, as you said, during pre-colonial times, and then you're translating it or interpreting it in a futuristic, showing like these patterns are not just, there's actually a lot of complexity to the way those patterns for like, the baskets for all of these traditional things have been made, for Imigongo inspired artwork, all of those things. And I guess for the most part, when they were getting those things into their museum, they just see it as, these are traditional artifacts from Rwanda. They don't really look at the complexity of how these artifacts were made.
Yes, that's the reduction. It's like you see, the thing is that when you think of the pre-colonial Africa, you want to see it in a reduced kind of way. You don't want to deploy all the scope of your intellect to analyze it. You just want to admire, have like only a folkloric, you think that it only has a folkloric contribution to the society, but there is so much in there that the intellect can benefit from if you really take away the colonial lens in which most of us use to look back at history.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the work of creatives today, or artists today, to be able to bring all of those things that have existed and translate it and show that, we also have very complex inspiration sources from our own continent and from our own countries, and we don't always have to like modernize it. We can modernize it, but in our own way, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely agree. And I'm also just thinking, like you mentioned that you had started doing like drawing since you were young. So like at what point did that go from drawing to illustration? Like where did that change happen in your life?
To me, I consider illustration and drawing as one thing, really, because even if illustration has mostly a minimal aspect, you will notice that most kids, when they draw, it's like they are designing a logo of what they are trying to capture. So if they are drawing a car, they will only give you the essence, the most important part of the car, something you cannot leave out. That's what they get you, because that's how they see. They actually see better because they can see the essence without being distracted by the details. Now, as you grow up, you start bringing in details, which most times are not needed, can be impressive at look, but they don't contribute much, to the artistic aspect of something. And it's as if when you're a kid, you know how to draw. And then as you get to grow up, you forget because you conform to the culture now, to things that you have seen. You want to emulate certain styles without understanding why those styles exist. And then you have like a realistic, loaded kind of visuals that can look impressive, but without really carrying much, in essence. So that's the problem. And then at some point in my journey, I got to learn how to let go of certain things which were not really, which I didn't feel like I had to keep carrying in terms of my artistic journey. So, and that results to a more simpler, purely geometric kind of visuals that can communicate deeper, because they they have a certain essence that the subconscious needs to make sense of something.
Yeah, and I think as you're talking about that, I feel like your work also just reflects the changes, the changes that have also happened with when it comes to branding. Like in the branding world, you would see that years ago there were a lot of like gradients and the kind of logos that were used. There was a lot of complicated elements added to logos, but then over time they started becoming like more minimal, more simple. Some people might argue that they are becoming too simple now, but at least like it does reflect like a change in how much detail people believe is necessary to include in in design work, in illustration. You feel like, as you said, as like a child will communicate something, that's probably how we should focus on going in that direction instead of adding more and more detail. But I feel like, just personal opinion, I think we might still go back in that direction again, because again, over time, you see that like these things have been trends. Like, there was a time when they're using gradients a lot. There was a time when they were using 3D in logos, and now it's like just flat, minimal, all of that. But maybe at some point we might go back to another like an era of using gradients again, because I'm already starting to see that. But yeah, I think even for me, I also like have an affinity for minimal. I just like minimalistic things. I like flat designs, but also because I don't necessarily know how to do the ones that are complicated.
Yes, look, that's what's wrong with that? The visual trends in design are mostly due to technological, let's say, discoveries.
Yeah.
So every time we have like a new application or a new operating system that can allow, certain effects like emboss, gradients,
Yeah.
we want to use that
Yeah.
because the tools can provide that ability. And then in the end, once you have over exploited the effect, you kind of get fed up of it,
Yeah.
and you want to go back to the minimal. Again, when something else arises, you want to exploit it, but one thing remain consistent throughout the human history when it comes to visual art is the kind of illustration that almost look like cave paintings. You see, people have been painting in caves for like ages. And if you look at the way they would paint, they would just capture a buffalo with like 5 lines to capture a whole buffalo. That doesn't change. It looks like an icon on your screen, touch screen, right? So yeah, the effects, the details will come and go, but the line work is there to stay. Is really what carries the most essence.
Yeah.
Everything else is additional, is not, is just additional. But the line is what carries everything. Lines are pathways of energy. So that's why they are so crucial when it comes to visual art and so many other fields.
Yeah. So I think also, when you started doing illustration, I believe that probably at the beginning, I don't know exactly when you started doing paid illustration work, but I believe that you have started doing like just illustration, maybe for personal projects or pro bono work, and then it moved on to like paid work. But like, what did that beginning stage look like for you? When did you start like charging for it? What did your first paid project look like at the beginning?
I think after my university time, I did graphic design as a profession because that's what was needed back then. So, but sometimes I would face limitation in my graphic, design work, and then I would add illustration, to kind of complement something, and then I would suggest to clients. Most of them were rejected because at some point people thought illustration was specifically for children. So they wouldn't think it can contribute much to the corporate industry when it comes to communication. But what I like about the internet is that the internet has shown what is possible. So whenever there is a trend somewhere, it will reach a global audience, and then people will learn that, maybe we can have graphic design and illustration combined. So I started mixing them at some point when I was studying in graphic design. And over time, I made sure that illustration can be on top of everything. So that took a lot of time for me to also learn, experiment, test with people, show them what's possible. And the journey continues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see. And I mean, I definitely understand when there's like art, I call it art fields now that people are not very familiar with, or just if you're introducing something relatively new to like a market or to an audience, there is usually like you have to perform a role of an educator. You have to show people
Yeah.
why this is something that will
Yeah.
be of value to them. So did you have to, because you've mentioned now that the internet was helpful, probably illustration started becoming trendy maybe in the West or in other countries around, and then people saw that and they felt like, okay, this is not just for children, it's something we can also use in our companies or to promote our work or to communicate something to our audience. So was that singularly what helped you, like what convinced people that they needed your work or your services? Or did you also have to play a role of like educating people? Or how were you promoting your work?
I think I forced I forced illustration to people.
You said
I was just unstoppable. I would post them on Facebook. I would, show people things. I would force it to clients to test. I didn't really care about, something being rejected because it has an illustration, because I know that some people resonated with that. And then over time, people now came back asking for that. So, but the breakthrough with my illustration journey came when I've always wanted to have a style of my own. Before, I would just draw just like everyone, not really knowing how I can own that, stylistically speaking, up until when I started combining, different aspects of my curiosity to illustration. I was very much drawn into geometry. And then I was very much into the Italian Renaissance, Rwandan history, Rwandan visually. My main interest in Rwandan history is really visual. I look at things, archives, objects, and then I try to make sense of things, given how much geometrical intricacy I see in them, and then that can tell me a lot about the makers. So I created my style, and then I started drawing, let's say, Rwandan figures, Rwandan concepts. And I kept it black. I would just use mostly black and maybe one color, highlight. Yes, I was just doing it for feelings, no commission, nothing. And then as I was drawing into that style, I really got to like it. I've experimented with so many styles, but there is one which I really felt the most connected to, so which is like shape-based. Now I moved from lines to shape. Everything is shape-based. Sometimes I don't need to show the facial features because I'm trying to capture something bigger than just the individual. So, and that is really what changed everything. It took me time now to go from developing that style, drawing one character or one object, to having a scene, with background, and now to having like landscape with one or three elements, to having like wide shot landscape kind of visuals within my style. And then I brought color to my style. I brought a little bit of gradient to my style, but I made sure that it remains within a confined space where I have a few tools to deal with, and then manage to do anything within that confinement, because that's what style is. It is a space of limitation where you can express yourself, in an infinite kind of way within those limitations, which sounds paradoxical, but yes, that's to me what a style is. So that's how I kind of forced illustration into people. Now I'm glad it's
paying off.
It's paying off. And it's having impact.
Yeah, and I mean, just sticking to that point of style, I know that like when it comes to visual arts, there's people who have their own style, and like that one style that they're recognized for. And then there's people who are more like they just explore different kinds of styles. But like, you know, what role would you say that having a style of your own has played in your like success as an illustrator? Or do you think that like it does, if you think it plays a role, what role do you think like it has played?
Having a style is also a way of showing people that you have personality. So you don't want, as a visual artist, you can be tempted to imitate everything you see if you like it. But that ability to restrain yourself and say, look, I like this style, but it's not mine, because I can imitate that particular art piece, but I cannot invent, I cannot create something of my own within someone else's style. That is absolutely impossible or very hard to do. It's a struggle. But within my style, I can make anything simple, as much as this bottle, within my style and bring more character, more personality to it. It's like me showing you how I see the world. So people want someone with personality. People want someone who can be audacious, to choose to do things in a certain way and forever. But as an artist, what I like about having a style is how much you grow it. It's like everything you are doing within that particular style, you are facing obstacles and issues, and you can bring more and more as you go. And then at some point, what seemed very like a simple thing that you couldn't push to like higher limits is now something which is becoming versatile. Yes. So there is beauty to it, because it's really an endless kind of journey where you keep discovering more and more, but within the confinement of space, time.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I feel like maybe some people might also think that if you stick to one style to get to a point where there's nothing else you can explore within that style.
you only call it a style if it's alive. Being alive means it's not stagnant. It's a style, it has a distinct kind of fingerprint, but it's alive because you keep evolving it. So it evolves gradually, slowly, organically. It is still the same, but it's growing because it's alive. So if it's not alive, then it's not a style. Yes. Yeah. It's like you are the same, but over the years, there is more aspect of you that will come out. But someone who really knows your essence will recognize who you are. Yes.
Yeah, I'll take that, and I'll definitely quote that and use that to make a social media post. But yeah, thanks so much. I think that's actually like a perspective on style that I haven't heard before, because I feel like people would generally think that if you just explore one same style over and over again, it's going to like it gets monotonous at some point. But actually, like as you said, it's not like you are doing exactly the same thing, but there's some things that you would do in your work that they'll know that this came from you. It doesn't mean that it necessarily looks the same way all the time, but they know that this is Dolph's work.
That's the tricky thing. It doesn't have to look the same, but it has to carry
like
the same essence in a way. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Style is beyond aesthetic. Yes, in style you have so many things that really extends beyond aesthetics. So if a style is just combined to how it looks, then it's incomplete. Yeah,
I believe in like based on that, the process of making the work might also be considered part of the style. Like what steps do you take before you have your final artwork or final illustration? So that makes sense. And that's true. When I think about it, like there's a lot of work, like illustrators that I follow. And as much as like I know every time I come across their work on my feed, I know that this is this person's work. But it has never been like, even though I've seen like a lot of their work, it's never been a thing where I'm like, I'm tired of seeing this person's. It's always new. Like it's the same, but it's new. If that makes any, it's those two things at the same time.
That's really, you just touched something I very much like. The fact that you never get tired of someone's work. It means they yes, even though it's within the same style, it has like visual similarities with other things, but people who manage to always bring something new all the time, those are the people I like to follow myself. Yes, because it kind of shows how much something can be. Something simple can be a lot.
Okay, then I think, just going back to the point of like when you actually started doing paid illustration, after being able to force it down people's throats that illustration is something that they need, how, like, when it comes to now let's say your first gig or your first few gigs, because if it's something that you're starting for the first time, I believe that like the challenges that every artist or every illustrator or every like creative has when they are starting out charging for their work, there's always the problem of knowing how to price like your work, how to like communicate the value of your work in monetary terms. So thinking back to when you first started, when you started charging for your work versus today, how would you say like things have changed from when you like had your first gig versus the kind of gigs today? How were you pricing then? How do you price now?
Pricing is always a tricky issue because we are talking about creative work. And there are situations when you kind of charge and then you feel like you've made a huge mistake because after you realize how much work that
it involves,
something represents, or depending on who you are dealing with, they can really be very hard to convince. They come up with so many, a lot of feedback, but also you can also deal with people who are not literate in terms of design, but also they don't want to compromise. At the same time, they are illiterate and they are very stubborn. So those are the tough clients sometimes you deal with, and then you regret how much you charged before. Before I was, depending on your status as a designer, that's how you will charge. Sometimes you will charge for survival because you want to get the gig. It's like, hey, okay, I will do it for this much because I don't want you to take it somewhere else. And then it can be a struggle because you have to do a lot of work for less money and drain yourself. As far as I'm concerned, at some point in my journey, there are things I decided not to do, which I was doing before, because before I was like a general creative. We can make a documentary, we can make a flyer, we can make a booklet, we can make a billboard, anything that is doable. We will do in all the fields, whatever it takes, as much as we are employed. So, but that's caused a complete lack of focus when it came to me. And also I wanted to be an entrepreneur instead of being a creative. And then at some point I had to make some choices. I need to really make some choices, which can seem tough to people. But I chose to be a creative more than I did choose to be an entrepreneur. And means a reduced team instead of having a big team, just like I had before. So a reduced team, which can really help me, orient my vision and That's how I started setting myself apart, focusing on illustration and animation, and choosing a style in which I'm going to be expressing myself, and only choosing the people that I'm going to be collaborating with. So at this time, I collaborate mostly with people who come to me because they know my style already. But that's a privilege because I've been around for more than a decade. So not a young designer cannot afford to make that choice, because you need to take the most, also learn through a lot, and then over time you can kind of filter out to have, like, you know, a very focused vision. So now we are still in a, you know, a tough market, because, you know, we are not like super power in financially, so we have to deal with what is available. But I would not complain on that, because Rwanda provides a lot of opportunity, not only to me but to so many designers. Now the financial status has considerably changed. Really, we can afford things that we could not afford before. We can do, you know, amazing deals. Before you make 2 million, you have to work like a lot, day and night, and go to places and carry things, and use some of that money as an investment to, I don't know, sound and all these things. Today you can design just a t-shirt, you know, for almost the same amount or even more, without all the hassle. You know, just sitting in your studio, you know, designing with less expense. So that I think it's really a promising market, and everyone charges according to their to what they are. You know, we charge according to our insecurities. We charge according to our fears. Sometimes we charge according to our status. So there are so many things that come into play. But I've learned that charging less is not a good thing, especially for an experienced designer. We should build our career in a way that we get to charge more and more and work with less and less, so that we can focus more and more.
And that's like less and less people at a time.
Less and less people, clients, less and less commissions, but more time and more focus on each one. Yes, so something that will remain. You don't want to do like, you know, like, you don't want to have 10 projects in a month. No, that would definitely kill you. Yes. And none of them is going to be relevant after 3 weeks.
That makes sense. And I think that just ties into something I've also been hearing about. So there's this guy I listen to. He's called, you may or may not know him, it's called Christo. And he also talked about, like, when it comes to pricing, that the focus should be
the guy with the blue. Yes, I see.
The future. He's I think he's Vietnamese American or something.
The future. His company is called The Future. Yes.
So like he also talks about he talked about like the same thing. Talked about the same thing of, you know, charging. The goal should be getting less clients that you can charge more per project. So it's like you should have a goal. Maybe have a goal for the month that you want to get like 2 million Rwandan francs or something. And instead of trying to get, you know, my math is very bad, but instead of trying to get like 10 creatives that you would charge like, I don't know, 200,000 or something. Instead get 4 or something that you can charge 500, and you make your like 2 million. Obviously, as you said, you need to get to a certain level as a creative to be able to access those kind of clients. But also, you've talked about how, you know, how things used to be before versus now in terms of the kind of clients you can reach. Also because of like the country itself, like the kind of people that have now
the environment,
the environment, the people that are coming in here, the people that have eyes here versus back then. You
Yeah.
probably did not have the same people you could charge 2 million for like a t-shirt or something versus now. So there's more access to like international clients and things like that you can do now. But also, you know, it depends, as you said, your status, you know, your insecurities. How well do you think you know what you are doing? And I think that would inform how you are charging people for. If you really feel like you know your stuff, then you are confident to charge more. But if you
Yeah.
don't feel like you know enough, then
Yeah.
you know you wouldn't charge as much. But we should always be like on an upward trajectory with our work. Get better, and as you get better, charge more. So
Yeah.
that should be the
Portfolio building is
Yeah.
what matters
yeah.
for artists. Yeah, portfolio building. So again, so we were talking about style before. Now we're talking about charging, which is somehow linked to your portfolio, right? What you bring to the table. Now, how do you build a portfolio without a style? Yeah, that's the question people should ask themselves. Yes.
Yeah. So style is very important.
It is very important. You have so many stages of evolution when you're a designer or an artist. First, the apprenticeship phase. You're learning things, right? Second, now you can practice those things. Okay, good. Now, once you have the ability to practice, what should be the aim now? You can develop technical competences. You know, you're good technically, you know how to manipulate softwares and everything. But what is it that you bring to the table apart from that? Right? So I feel like there is more focus on the tools and technicalities than the narrative. To me, the combination of both narrative and technique and so many other things, but let's keep those two for now, are what can really lead to a distinct style.
Yeah.
So once you have a style, now you can build a portfolio. You know, once you have a portfolio, now you can elevate your status as a designer or an artist. So elevating your status means connecting to people who resonate with you, because those are the ones who are going to employ you or connect you to, you know, to opportunities.
Yeah. People who are also willing and able and willing to like pay you for those services, because it's like, I feel like for every creative we have like an audience of people who love your work. There's people who love your work, but it does not necessarily mean that there are people who can pay for it. Like, they just love your work, but they might also refer you to people who can.
To me, we are not supposed to only communicate to the ones who pay.
Yeah.
Because we just need to build an audience. Even someone who doesn't have the ability to pay you for work, they are going to contribute to your success in one way or another, by talking to you, by referring you, just like you mentioned. So there are so many ways things happen, but we should not underestimate our audience by classifying them by the ones who pay not, because so many things, especially in Kigali, it's really based on recommendation. It's like, check this guy's page, look what he's doing. And then you get a phone call, you get a WhatsApp, you get an email, and that's how things work here. So and then sometimes when you try to follow to know how everything started, it's like, there is this guy, he follows you, and very obscure follower that made things happen, and they didn't even show up, they just did it because they connect with what you do.
And I have seen a lot of those kinds, because it's not always the people who are like, the loudest people in your comment section saying, oh,
Mm-hmm.
love this. Some people just follow it. They may not even like interact with the post or like it, but they've been seeing your work come across their
Yeah.
feed, and then
Yeah.
they happen to be in spaces where somebody needs your service, and they're just like, oh, I remember coming across
Yeah.
this person on my
Yeah.
Instagram, and then they recommend it. You don't even know who recommended it, because I have also been in a situation where like somebody that we don't even like talk or anything,
Yes.
and I somebody sent me a message and said that person recommended me, and I've never seen them like interact with my work, so I like, just tell me who told you and let me go thank them. But there's definitely, it's not always the people who are like loudest, who are interacting,
Yeah.
who are, some people are watching your work silently,
Yeah.
and they might even be the
Yes.
most important people.
Yes.
Like,
Never clicked like, never, but have impacted way more than
Yeah.
the ones who even comment.
Yeah, definitely. And just also going back to now, you mentioned that you kind of like downsized like your team when you were trying to move more, like go back to not just being an entrepreneur and going large scale, reducing the scale so you could have like better focus on the kind of work you were doing. I feel like, one temptation is that people just measure like growth as increasing in scale, like in the size of your company. It's like, it's just an automatic, if you are getting better at your work, or if your team, you must start a team, you must grow your team, you must have a big. But from what I'm hearing from you, it's like, it's not always necessarily the case. That is not always the measure of success. It's like, you don't always have to go from small and keep growing, unless your focus is like scaling and maybe being more of an entrepreneur than focusing on the creativity side of things.
For some people, success is scale. Quantity. For others, it's substance or quality. It really depends on your goals and what fulfills you.
I think, I mean, just even going back to, I'm sure before you had that large team, which you now like reduced the number of, you were initially like working by yourself, you're a solopreneur. So, at what point did you decide that, okay, I think it's time that I need to have a team of people I work with?
It all happened organically. Like when I was a freelance, and then I started getting more and more commissions than I could handle. So automatically, you start getting help. So that's how everything started. And up until when I was like, I think this is too much now. Yes, this is, it's not doing it. So but I feel like we all need to experience things. We need to go through experiences before we can know what fits us or not. But we need to try out things and then iterate.
I see. And just with the kind of projects you are doing today, or the kind of work you are doing today, I believe you have done, from some of the work that even made me to get to know you before I actually met you at an event, was like the work you did for Move Africa, the work you did for Fear. I gained a lot of traction and I came across it. But now I know that those are like large scale projects, and I know that today you probably still do like some smaller scale. It's not always the large scale projects. So when it comes to like just handling client work, how do you deal, like what's your process for like these smaller scale projects and like the big ones? What differs, if anything differs, in like those two things? What does your process look like when you're doing those two types of work?
So to me it's the same in terms of my process. I want to know what someone is looking for. Sometimes they know, sometimes they don't know, so it's up to me to figure it out. If they know, I will kind of accompany them into reaching to what they want. If they don't know, I will make suggestions. to what could solve their problem. Yeah. And then it comes to, yes, talking, listening, exchanging. We go through different phases where I make you an internal part of the whole process, so that we don't have surprises at the end of the process without communication. So we have to stay in constant communication during the project, because I want to show you different stages. And when we get to an outcome, it is kind of a very, very solid collaboration, because you've been part of each stage, each major stage. At least you've seen how things developed, and that builds trust and connection between myself, my clients, and people I work with. So yeah, it's really I face them, I try to understand them, and then I guide them through the journey. It's always the same. It's always the same. Yeah. Maybe what changes is going to be the frequency. If you're working on something large, you will have so many people at the end of your Zoom calls. You will have like 10 people at the end of your Zoom call, and each one has something to say which is different from the other. So it's up to you to unify them, convince them, listen to them. So when it's a small project, you're making a logo for an individual. So you have to talk to the individual through. Part of my process is also it's also making sure that we are not overflowing, we are not derailing from the path, because that can happen. So I need to bring, let's say, my experience to guide you through, because some project can really take a crazy turn.
I see. So it is the same kind of process, just kind of the difference is like the people.
It's the scale, it's the frequency, it's really that. It's the only difference is quantitative, but it's everything else is the same.
It's the same. Okay. And I mean, now that you kind of also you run a studio, Inkstain, and I believe that it has been a difference, like shifting from just being a solopreneur to now like running a company. Like what does it look like for you? What have been the best parts of it, but also like the challenging parts of running like your agency?
An agency is just, to me, it's beyond a word. Agency is just good, but not enough to describe what an initiative can be, which involves a lot of, let's say, department. You have to create, you have to manage, money, people, you have to time, so there is so many aspects in having, a company. You have to manage people internally, externally. So one thing you learn about being self-employed, that's how I would really define it, your question, the way I am, understanding it. One thing about being self-employed is that you get to learn so many things about yourself during the process. So it's really about you. It's like you get to learn your shortcomings. You get to learn your strength. You get to learn your interaction with people. It's really a very, very, very big feedback loop to the person you are. And then once you change, for someone who's running just one company, it's going to be very personal, right? It's not like I'm an entrepreneur who's running like 10 businesses where I don't really, give an F to something. So if it's personal, my own change is going to reflect in my company, or maybe my company can also kind of push me to change. You see, it's like two ways. It's not just one way kind of interaction, but it's a very interesting thing to cherish, grow it. And to me, I make it a playground. I call it my playground. I don't want to go out there, and be in a negative space all the time. I want to go there and try to construct something positive, have good time, create amazing stuff. Obviously, there's going to be challenging moments, negative moments, but that's part of the process. In the end, everything turns out positive. Yeah.
I mean, definitely, like, but what would you also say, like, are some of those, like, challenging moments? Because I feel like it's also always something worth discussing, because it's things that people who are also coming up in this space will probably face or are already facing. So, like, what have been some of these, challenging moments over time?
Now, self-employment means, especially in the creative business, means it's not gonna be stable. Financially, mainly financially, it's not gonna be stable. Now, are you able to go through a period of instability and still create, and still lead, and still interact, and still exchange while you are going through those uncertain moments? Are you able to sacrifice something so that you can try to build your company? So those are the first challenges that you're going to meet. So some people are really used to getting like a regular salary. Each month it's regular, it's guaranteed, it's safe. Yes, some others like us, we are like, okay, we will find a way. It doesn't have to be regular, but we will find a way. So that requires some personality. Yes, that's the main challenge. Then you will go through the challenge of what you are trying to achieve. You have competitors. That's a beautiful challenge to have, because they push you to always do better. And then you also have your team is going to challenge you a lot. The people you are most close to, the people you are working with, they are going to challenge you sometimes. Within a team, someone is going to not feel the same vibe. And if you don't keep them in check, they will become contagious to the rest of the team, and then things will start malfunctioning. So you will lose people. You will hire people, train them, get them to their, to a mature kind of level, and then they will go. That's the natural process. Apprentices end up flying on their own, and then they will leave. You will have to accept it. Yes. If you don't, that's your problem, because you will always carry something negative about people, because you feel like you've trained them, they should stay forever. No, they will go. You will have to deal with that. You will take new ones and continue the journey. So, yeah. You will face challenges with clients. Some people will not pay you, and you will have to deal with it and carry on. You don't want to cry over some lost deal for years. You have to carry on, continue. You will have challenges to respond to every day. Despite your mood change, those challenges, you will have to face them. You will have to worry about your company alone, even if you have a team of 20 people. Everyone go to bed, they sleep. You're the one who's going to have like sleepless nights. You're the one who have to remember everything. If you expect other people to do it for you, the way you wish, it's not going to happen if you don't make sure it does. So all these are challenges. You will be lonely. It's a very lonely kind of journey. You seem surrounded by your team and people you collaborate with, but in the end, during those hard moments, you will face loneliness, and you will see that no one else can solve some of the problems that you are facing except yourself. So it really strengthens one's, heart. It really strengthens people's mentality. When you are self-employed and running something, you are taking on a bigger responsibility. So that's that's the entrepreneurship aspect of of that.
Yeah, it is. It does sound like it's just a very, there's a lot of things you face, but you have to be ready to face it, because they're not really going to ever completely go away. You're just going to have to deal with them.
Yeah.
And I mean, speaking of, challenges, there's one thing now that I think is in everybody's faces, which is AI, or generative AI.
Yeah.
And especially in the art space, or the digital art space, there's a lot of like discussions around, how much benefit is it to the creative scene, or is it a disadvantage? So I want to hear what your own thoughts are around like generative AI. What is it to you? Do you use it? Do you feel like it's a disadvantage or a tool that would help?
It definitely helps, with a danger that it could improve enough to put a lot of people out of work. That's a major concern, not only for me.
Yeah.
Right now, I do use AI. I used to. We all use references when we want to draw something, when we want to design. You need inspiration, references. There is a lot of resources that you need in order to carry out a task. Now, AI is playing a big role in providing those references. You can alter something, you can change the angle, you can see it from a different perspective. Again, it comes back to your taste. When it comes to AI, everything comes down to your taste. How much taste do you have? Because really, your taste is what people pay you for more than anything. So if you carry the same creative spirit within the AI, not take it as something that you want to replace you by being lazy and not doing much, but you use it wisely, collaborate with it intelligently, then AI is an amazing tool. When it comes to the concern about the philosophical question of AI and art in general, I feel like what humans like about things is the story they carry. That's why artifact and ancient objects are much more valuable. They carry a lot of stories and history. So anything that is just prompted, out of some kind of neural network machine system, will never have as much value as something that has been really done out of blood and sweat to the human eye. Somehow, subconsciously, we know how to tell if something really took effort and heart and love and pain. That's what we like about things. It's not only that thing. That thing is a representation of all the other things that went into it in terms of emotions and know-how and experience and history. So the AI is over flooding the internet with a bunch of images, but the more you have something, the less value it has. Even in commercial terms, we will reach a time when we are looking for rare things, handmade, human-made things. Some people will be okay with having AI, and paying for it, and okay with the fact that people are going to be replaced. Some others are going to be seeking for rare, exceptional things made out of love. So, as an artist, you need to place yourself if you want to be the person who really create things out of, effort and intelligence and emotion, so that you can connect with the people who are seeking for the same. Or if you just want to be a technical guy who can prompt and So it's a choice to make, but I think both are going to be the path that we're going to go through in the future. Yeah, I want AI to be used in my work. I want to use it, but in a very limited way. I want to be the one who controls and the one who really direct everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
AI is just going to assist. Yeah.
It's just like a virtual assistant.
Yeah.
To in
just
some,
as an
in some
assistant.
senses.
Yeah. Nothing bigger than that.
Yeah. That makes sense. Interesting, very interesting view, and probably also similar to the view I hold. I think that it's a very useful tool. Obviously, I don't do the same type of work, but I still have like some reservations around like prompting AI. Like I generally use it for a lot of maybe text-based work, but I don't use it for graphic. It never really gives me what I want. Like I still have to like modify the result it has provided, and so I feel like there's just it still has a long way to go, but based on the pace it has been developing with, it can get there very very fast.
No, it is.
So
when it started, people we were talking about AI before even AI, because it has always been a topic. So we had like talks, discussions where we would speculate about what AI would do. Most people that I was following, most scientists, thought that AI will start by replacing, by let's say executing repetitive tasks, and maybe things like art will come way after. But it started with art, so which is very very surprising to all of us. Yeah,
that makes sense. And I think I'm going to ask you some rapid like fire questions now. But before that, just my last major question. For now, for people who like young illustrators or people who want to go into illustration, just in Kigali and Rwanda and beyond, like looking back on your journey, what kind of advice will you, if you wanted to go back to young Dolph and give him some advice, what like 2 pieces of advice would you give the young Dolph who is about to go into like illustration as a career?
Be curious, have a lot of interest, and only consider illustration as the vessel that carries something else. It's not the message itself. So yes, that's what I like to repeat to people, because a lot of technicalities but less curiosity and investigative minds. So if we could combine both, that would be amazing.
Any other advice from your
yes, there is a ton of knowledge out there which is not academic. You have to really research a lot from different cultures. That's something about that I really much like. Your research cannot be limited to a certain culture. You have to go cross-cut cultures. You have to explore all the ancient, societies as much as you can. Ancient knowledge, different topics, no limit, and that will open up your mind to a lot of things. This will enrich your art if you you are investigative and curious.
Yeah.
It really comes back to curiosity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So, yeah, to end now with just some quick rapid fire
Yeah.
questions.
Let's
So,
go.
first one, if illustration didn't work out, what do you think you'll be doing today?
I'll be a technician. I'll be working at a radio station or TV station, probably, doing some machine work.
Yeah. Okay. So this one, feel free to not answer, but what's the weirdest client request that you've ever had? Make the logo bigger.
My God, this is. We need another time.
Another time for this.
Yeah.
No problem. Okay, the next one. So, what kind of projects do you wish that you got more of?
Things I've done or no? You mean
it could be things, maybe projects that you want to do more of,
projects
even if you've done them
projects
before.
that I want to do are research-based projects.
Research-based.
Yes, museums, studying more patterns, studying more ancient objects, creating more blueprints. Yes, research-based with within the academic scope. Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and then the final one: if money was not a factor at all, what do you think that you'll be creating right now?
The same I am creating.
Mm.
Yeah. The same I'm creating. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, so nothing will change. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good thing, I believe. That's a very good thing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, in that case, thank you so much. We'll get back to your question maybe on some future episodes.
For sure.
To find out what that weird client
Yes,
request
yes.
was.
Or maybe off camera.
We'll take
so
that
I
one
can't
too.
recall anything specific on that, but
Yeah.
yes, for sure. Look, it's a pleasure. Thank you for the conversation. It's we've been planning to do this. Now I'm glad it happened.
I'm very glad.
And good luck for your podcast.
Thank you so much for being a guest and for sharing everything that you shared today. And I think before we just like, where can people who are listening, where can they find you online?
You can follow me on my social media. My name is Dolph Banza, so you can Google that and find out about everywhere that I am. Mostly Instagram. My Instagram is the most active. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dolph. And thank you so much to everyone who has tuned in into today's episode. Please don't forget to like this episode, subscribe to our channel, and share it with any other creatives that you feel will find this episode insightful. Until next time, on the next episode of the Lucrative Africa podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye.